morning to everyone. I think it was a late night. In fact, I know it was a late night last night with the Technology Awards and commemorating and felicitating everything that's good, grand, and fantastic in retail. So I hope you've had a good night's rest and you're ready to start off with day two. There's plenty on the agenda today. Just to recap, a couple of things discussed from yesterday, a few simple points to keep in mind while you're at our conference. Do keep your mobile phones on silent. If there's a phone conversation or a conversation that's important, we encourage you to step outside and have that. Through the course of the day, there will be several panels. We're going to try and keep a strict check on time, but if there is indeed time, I will open the house up for some questions that you might have for the panels that you hear and find interesting through the course of the day. Yesterday, the tone was very much about the broader macro parameters within which retail in the Middle East region is functioning, including what's happening with the economy, what might be happening in terms of currency volatility, and of course the retail landscape itself. Just to remind you, many of these conversations are being curated, the videos are being recorded, and you can actually take a look at that. You can log on to our website, that's imagesretail.com, and you can take a look in greater detail at some of the conversations you might have missed out on. Of course, social media, hashtag 2016MRF, you can catch us there or tweet out to us. It'll be nice to hear your thoughts from the conference. So without further ado, as our panelists settle themselves in, let me introduce and set out the agenda that is kicking the day's proceedings off. Yesterday was a lot about old economy versus new economy, the online versus offline debate. But one thing that didn't get touched upon, or perhaps not in enough detail, was innovation. It's the age-old axiom, innovate or die. And a bunch of people that you see on stage right now are what we like to term as young Turks. They're people who are doing something differently. It's quirky, it's got a twist to it, but it makes business and retail sense. So that's exactly what we're going to debate, the do's and don'ts of it, where you can push boundaries and what you need to be mindful of in any business in the retail space. Let me start introducing our panelists, and then of course I'll introduce you as well to the person who will be navigating that conversation. Amal Al-Mari, who's owner of Independent Food. Alexandra Teodorescu, I beg your pardon, who's founder of Street Nights and Truckers at DXB. Chris Schroff, who's project manager at the Regal Group. Matthew King, who's co-founder at Bamboo. Ola Sino, who's owner and managing director at Spill the Beam. Rahul Agarwal, who's CEO at Organic Harvest. Tahir Shah, who's founding partner at Moti Roti. Tanya Ganwani, who's founder of Burn, part of the Laos Group, and Zaina Kanan, who's founder of Cherry Cycles. And of course, steering that conversation this morning is Mr. Idris Al-Rafai, who's founder and CEO of Fetcher. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll let you take it away now.
It's an honor to be in this panel. I think we're gonna have a really good time here. Maybe to get started, for you to know a little bit about who our panelists are, we could go with a small introduction. I'll ask you to go a little bit about what you guys are doing. Try to make it short. What I don't want, this is like what I was telling you guys backstage, is like what I don't want is like 5-minute speech, okay? Let's try to make it interactive. Let's try to bounce ideas out of each other, and let's try to make it lively as much as possible. Okay?
Sure.
So, maybe you want to start? Just a quick intro.
Sure. My name is Zaina Kanan. Can you guys hear me well? Yeah, okay, excellent. I feel like I'm screaming. What we do, I have a startup called cherrycycles.com. What we do is we get old vintage bicycle frames and we upcycle them. So we basically take out the old paint and we repaint them so they're customized. And then we resell them. For every 5 bicycles we sell, we donate a bicycle to a child in a refugee camp around the Middle East. So we have a very big CSR arm. That's pretty much what I do.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, yo. Hi, how are you? Good morning. I'm Tahir. I'm the founder of Moti Roti, Pakistani soul kitchen. We run a food truck, and we're trying to make Pakistani aunties cooking look cool. That's my mission. Yeah, I'm glad you invited us, and glad to be with these people on the panel.
I'm Tanya Ganwani. I'm a third-generation retailer. My family business is Laos Group.
And I've recently started my own activewear brand and moved away from the traditional brick and mortar retail that we've been in and have been doing it through e-commerce and pop-ups.
Hi, my name is Rahul Agrawal. I represent a brand called Organic Harvest. We do organic personal care products, anything to do with organic skin care, hair care, and body care products. So we saw in 2011 that people had started eating organic food. They had started using organic cotton as well. But there was nothing on the lines of organic personal care products. So that was a thought we started this brand. And it's been 3 years since we launched our products. The going has been great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ala. I set up Spill the Bean, a specialty coffee shop a few years ago with my family. And what we aim to do by setting the place up is to have a mom and pop shop that sells specialty coffee and healthy food that actually tastes good. And a big part of our business model is to do events and pop-ups and to get out of the shop and interact with customers to basically increase the knowledge of coffee and healthy food.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a co-founder of Bamboo. We're an organic and eco-conscious clothing brand. We've been around for around 2 years now and activated in Dubai through the pop-ups, retail, and e-commerce.
Morning, I'm Chris Schroff, a third-generation member of the Regal Group, and I currently head up 3 projects, including the marketing for our textile company to get it more digital, our e-commerce supply business in terms of branded items being supplied to many e-commerce players in the region, and the business architecture as a whole to create an infrastructure for the group to continue to thrive, hopefully, in the coming years.
Hi, I'm Emel Meri. Me and my partner, Dimel Bessam, the owners of Independent Food Company. We run Parker's Salt and Switch. And we don't believe in franchising. We create our own concepts from scratch. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a founder at Street Nights and Truckers DXB. Street Nights is one of the first street culture festivals in the region. And from that emerged also a food truck platform where we gather thousands of foodies every weekend at the Emirates Golf Club. So if you haven't seen it, come and join us this weekend. And our slogan, just to give you a taste of where we stand in the retail environment, our slogan is #GetOutTheMall. So we're trying to do things a little bit differently.
Thanks, everyone. So I think this is a super eclectic panel. And I think all of you guys are redefining retail in some kind of ways. And this is what I really would like to dive in, right? So some of you guys are more into like new venues, right? Like bringing retail closer to where people are, trying to find like a new ways to interact with customers. Some of you guys are more here to find like new business model, right? Like going e-commerce, trying to change how retailers think about how they should do business in the region. And I think there is a third role all across. Like you can see, like in some of your ventures, you have like a new sense of purpose, right? It's like you want to achieve something that is beyond what traditional retailers or traditional retail think about. So maybe to get started, Alex, can you tell us a little bit more about how did you get started, right? I think you had tons of challenges when you started your venture, and how did you go about it?
Yeah. Well, first challenge, I don't come from the events industry at all. 4 years ago, I was actually representing the mayor of Montreal in the Middle East. So I was more on the political and economic advisory side. So I was wearing those suits every day. But so one thing that we worked on really closely with Dubai and Montreal was how can we, bring some of our expertise in big city activation to Dubai. And I think Dubai now has been doing that very well. So Montreal knew how to do this, how to bring millions of people in the street outside the mall and have them, to be creative and culture and all that. So this is started from a fun project for me and some of our friends on the weekend. Like, how can we block a street in the middle of Al Quoz, bring in 100 street artists, and 4 years ago, street art was still considered vandalism for many, and so this is how it started. So it was really a passion weekend project where I wanted to bring some kind of different experience to Dubai, inspired from my home country. And it worked actually really well. So well so that actually the government saw the potential and decided to support us. And hats off to them because they saw the initial potential there. And how it evolved, and it was a very nice journey. Now you see every developer wanted to have some kind of street art, food trucks, all this kind of hip-hop culture also going to the mainstream, which I think is great. It has its limits as well. And so the mission always for Street Nice or truckers was always the same thing. How can we create a platform to allow local homegrown entrepreneurs that don't have the platform, the ability, the resources to go to the malls? How can we help them live a sustainable, live through their craft in a sustainable way? And this is what we're seeing with Truckers DXB now. And Tahir will tell you the same thing because he's one of our founders as well. Those food trucks, those homegrown food trucks, they're not the Starbucks, that are able to rent an expensive trailer. But this is where the culinary culture is really emerging from, and we want to build this platform moving forward, and this is where we see a lot of potential.
And actually, maybe Tahir, can you bounce a bit? Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience as well? Food truck industry, how was it to actually set it up and grow?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I want to say is the mic clear? Because I get a lot of echo. Can everyone hear it okay? Is good? Yeah. Yeah, going on what Alex said, there is a growing movement of independent entrepreneurs, retailers, young kids with really good ideas, and we don't have a big wallet to go to Dubai Mall and say, hey, I'll take that spot. Not everyone can do that. So something like Truckers DXB, for example, is like an alternative way of saying, hey, you guys come out here, we've collaborated, a bunch of us, and test your retail here. See, it's not only us, sorry, the community as well is also like that. The community is a little bit sick of air-conditioned, samey mall, same old shopping center, same old this, same old that. They want something a bit alternative, a little bit organic, and I think it suits very well the community in Dubai, these kind of events and movements. I hope that answered the question a little bit.
Yeah. And I think so it comes back to new business model, right? So maybe can you tell us a little bit more about your experience and how, as a third generation retailer, how did you manage to actually change things within your organizations to start Burn?
Well, I think changing things is a little bit difficult. Coming in, it's been 4 years now that I've been working with the family business, and it's not really possible to change things in terms of how operations are run or, they do businesses. What I have tried to implement, though, is to be more tech savvy, to be more with the age, to go digital. And I think branding wasn't as big of a deal in the past 10, 20, 30 years as it is today. And that's where I've come in to kind of implement all of these things and make that difference to say, yes, on one side of the business, we do want to drive numbers through the door, and that's what is important to us. But on the other side, now we're trying to really go into our customers' homes, become a part of their families, become a part of their lives, and just understand what they really want.
But how much resistance did you find, actually, within the organization? How difficult was it for you?
I think it's challenging coming in at a young age to kind of go to a director of a business or something like that and to say, look, this is what needs to be done and these are the changes that need to be made. But the more you prove things to them, you start on a small scale and you're like, okay, I need this amount of money and I'll show you what I can do with that. And once you prove facts to them and then they see what happens and how things are changing, everyone kind of agrees and decides that, yes, we do need to move along.
Okay. And Krish, I think you've had a little bit of a similar story. So tell us a little bit more about how you guys started.
So we started as a company in 1952. It's a long-lasting company. And when I came in 2 years ago, people said, are you a director? Are you a manager? Are you an employee? Are you a family member? And I just said, yeah. All of those roles play different parts in what we do. And as Tanya said, I think the biggest mindset shift for me was not coming in and saying, hey, we got to do everything differently. It's, we're doing so many things right. Let's figure out how to do those better and try and clear away the debris that accumulates with 60 plus years of luckily success. and finding a way to drive that forward into whether it's through tech or whether it's just through enabling the ability of the people in the organization, how do we drive that forward to the next level? And for me, a lot of it has been, okay, I have my vision. That's great. That's not going to do a whole lot, honestly, because unless that vision is shared, communicated, and felt by the whole team, which I might not have the right vision. They have more years of experience than I have been alive.
Okay, thank you.
And when I can rely on that and drive it forward to say, okay, what is the right thing? What do we do? You've seen this. Then, frankly, my job just becomes an enabler. And as Tanya was saying, it's so customer driven. And branding has become important because today, what is branding? It's just being authentic about who you are. And we want brands that are authentic. And if we're going to serve our customers, it starts with us serving our team, because how we treat them is how they're going to treat our customer. So if eventually I can reach the point where I'm saying, what is the single biggest area that we can add value in, according to you, my employees? How do I make that happen? How do we make that happen for you? That mindset, hopefully, will translate to our customers.
And maybe, so either Krish or Tanya, maybe can you comment a little bit, like from what I understand and from my discussion with retailers, is that as you start like either new revenue streams or almost like new ventures, there is a strong pressure on profitability, right? Mm-hmm. Because the group as a group has been profitable for generations, years and years, and you come with the new ideas with unproven business model, unproven brands, but trying to create an impact. So how can you relate to this? How did you manage that?
So if I'm hearing correctly, the question is more how to balance these kinds of approaches with the desire
pressure
for
on profitability, exactly, that you have.
So personally, moving forward, I think, as Tanya was saying, yes, we have to drive people in the door. But if we can build something that people come to, it's just more a matter of communicating that. So I've been very lucky in that our family's been very supportive of my learning period and various mistakes that have come with it. And I think that approach in a family business or anything that's still run with a long-term perspective, similar to how this country is run. It wasn't said, tomorrow we're going to be the best. It said, we are becoming better every day. We're aiming to be the best, not just today, but in time. And I think that perspective, that long-term perspective, has a lot to do with it. Hopefully.
Anything? All right. Amal, if you could just introduce a little bit about what you guys are doing. I mean, I've read a lot about you. I think what you're doing is pretty cool. So can you share a little bit about how you got started and how difficult was it to actually get started in your line of business?
Okay. First of all, I'd say that we're in the creative industry, not just the food industry. I think that's how we want to explain ourselves with the things we do. So at Independent, we create our own concepts. So there was a question about, what was the question again? About doing things differently. I think nowadays people are exposed to social media, they're exposed to traveling a lot, so they know the ideas, they see the concepts that's happening all around the world. So what we try to do, we try to reshape the industry as well. So yes, we started the first food truck, I'd say, but our main idea wasn't to start a food truck. Our main idea was we wanted people to enjoy the outdoors in Dubai. That was the main goal of having a food truck. And the vehicle to really enjoy Dubai and simply the outdoors and the beautiful destinations we have, whether it was the parks or the beaches, was the food truck. So when we knew that it was the challenge, that's how we wanted to start. So before starting any concept, we would see the challenge. We don't like just to open concepts for the sake of we want to make more money. No, it's about the experience we want to create for people. It's about the lifestyle and everything around it. Because if you just copy a concept, people know that you're just copying, and they would not appreciate the process you go through. So that's how I started. I started with salt. And it was crazy because reshaping the industry I'm talking about the industry, I'm talking about legally having it legal. It was a crazy process, but that we're proud of because we knew that once we get the approvals, other food trucks will be out there. So we knew that we wanted to create something different. So when I see other food trucks on the roads, Salt is not a food truck, it's more of a lifestyle movement, it's more of a destination. So that's how we started.
And how did you, so like one of the key things you mentioned was like interaction, doing things differently. How do you interact with your audience, right? And with millennials especially. So maybe can you share, and then I'll leave it to a little bit to anyone who wanna take it forward, but like, can you share a little bit about your experience about how you interacted and how you use social media to actually create your brand?
Yeah, I think Instagram was at its peak, and we really wanted to use that to get through the emotions of people. So when we started, of course, we did not have any approvals. It was so crazy in Dubai to really get approvals. We spent more than 6 months going back and forth through municipality, DED, just to get the approval or the license. And people think that we got it easily. It wasn't the case. We literally spent, it was a full-time job just to get this approval. So while we were trying to get the approvals, we started the campaign of Find Salt. And people were really interactive. They did not know what we're trying to do, but we simply touched to their emotions of asking them, define the simple things in your life, or why do you wake up every morning? What makes your day special? So we realized that people like to go to the beach. They like to go, they like their books, they like to be with their families. So this is how we reshaped our concept. This is how we create our destinations. This is why you don't see Salt everywhere. This is why we don't franchise. This is why we are not in every event as well. So we're trying to be niche because people asked us to be niche. They asked us to be in the park, in the beach, in the desert. So why would I be somewhere else? Doesn't make sense. So this is how we really try to be different, and this is why we don't call ourselves a food truck.
So yeah, if I can jump on what Amal has said, I mean, when Salt had started up at the beach, it was, you have to go there and understand what she means by lifestyle, because it's a thing to do now in Dubai, right? You go to Salt, you don't necessarily go to a cafe in a mall, and it's a thing to do. So that's pretty much a lifestyle thing here. The rest of us who have food truck, like myself, I have a food truck. It's a part of my business. It's not. I don't have a permanent spot for it. We will go where there's events, or we'll collaborate with other truckers. So I think it's a very important distinction, and that's people lining up at Salt. It's the community saying, this is what we want. We're a little bit tired of doing the same old thing every day, and this is something refreshing. We can go and hang out with friends. We like the vibe, and it's very important to listen to what the community is telling you as well. And it's nice, these guys have kind of trailblazed that somewhat.
So you guys, the truck is never at the same place, correct? It's moving from...
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird situation. I mean, look, we're at the retail forum. This is the best place to bring it up. So if there's any landlords here, please listen up sharp. The trucks cannot really, we can't stay and sit in the road and sell from the roadside. Yeah, RTA will love it. RTA will be there straight away with his book. So we have to be invited to events. It's the only way we can run the business. And then just running events 6 months of the year is not really a sustainable model. So doing things like Truckers DXP, I think, is something, okay, it helps us in our business, and it's something that the community would like to interact with, or the community wants some more of. It's a great place to experiment retail. It's a great place to bring on other new truckers who are trying out new stuff, who are a bit niche and a bit different and a little bit non-mainstream. I think that's where really we are contributing as these Truckers DXP.
Anybody else want to contribute, like really on how you guys interact? I think it's one of the key theme here, right? Like how you guys interact with your audience and with millennials, right? It's all about the new generations that is willing to interact with brands and with you guys. So how do you guys, how do you guys manage this? if anybody wants to take.
Well, I can tell you from my experience in the street culture sphere and the food truck platform now with Truckers DXB, because we were not coming at it from a professional events industry and we didn't have the money, really, we really counted on the organic interaction. And we were lucky to have, when a typical event organizer does a marketing campaign, he controls everything. He put in the budget, top line, it's very straightforward, it's very predictable. What we did is that we had not only one voice, but we had with Street Nights, for example, we had 100 street artists. We had 20 food trucks and pop-ups. We have 35 urban market vendors. So we have hundreds of people that are actually very vested in making sure that people know about it. So you don't control the message, but you leave it to the people who are really interested in this, because it's theirs as well. And this is a very different way of doing it. You don't really control it, but also it works. With one post, 4 years ago, we brought, not even boosted, because I didn't even know what a boost on Facebook was 4 years ago. We had 7,000 people came in the middle of nowhere in Alcoz. So you see, it actually works. And Truckers DXB is the same thing, by the way. So this is how we create interaction in a different way, I guess.
Got it. Maybe let's talk a little bit about Bamboo, right? And what you guys are doing. I think it's so maybe you wanna tell us a little bit about what it is. I found this concept fascinating. Like I told you, this is something that I had in mind like 10 years ago, and I think this is really amazing. I think this is the future. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing? And I think you're touching a little bit of all the subjects, right? How do you interact? Because it's key for you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe switching to a little bit more about how is that sense of purpose, right, that you have within Bamboo, and how do you integrate that with your business model?
Okay. Well, we started around 2 years ago, and I think that we've already talked about the brand, that we've talked about authenticity, and that what you're looking to create and what people buy into. Mm-hmm. And we've already talked about the passion project, and that's what it was for me and my co-founder, Amy. This is around organic, eco-conscious clothing, and the basic of which is what I'm wearing today, the t-shirt. It's organic, it's bamboo, it's organic cotton. And it was something that we felt was something that was being driven within consumers, that eco-conscious, making a conscious choice to step away from what is the fast fashion, the likes of H&M, where it's every week it's a different item that is in fashion. It's in 1 week, it's out the next. It's in 1 week, it's out the next. So we were looking at slow fashion, or the slow style of it, where you invest in certain items. But for us, it was about that eco-conscious brand that had those accreditations that people could buy in and that people could trust. And that's what we found, that people actually bought into that. And that people made an actual conscious choice. And when we look at how did people react to that, then we launched at the Market OTB, which was a great platform for us. So you've got the likes of the food truckers and all of those kind of food stalls that are happening now. The Market OTB is kind of like that retail fashion that also has the food trucks there. It was a great platform for us to be able to, again, test in the market. So again, we're talking about, okay, you can play with things a little and you can adapt and see how things are taken. But for us, it was a fantastic test in the marketplace, and the feedback that we got was fantastic. So both from Dubai is a very multicultural place, as we all know. The feedback that we got was fantastic from everyone. Once people kind of saw what it was, they wanted to know more. And they wanted to know in a lot of detail with that. And the feedback that we got was fantastic. So across the board, for us, that's what people bought into. But then they bought into the authenticity of what it is because of the accreditations that it has. The people bought into that as well. And that's what drove us, and that's what helped us become kind of what we are today. A lot of it was around the social platforms where we got that, people able to see what was happening with it, where it came from, what it did, what impact it had as well. And the impact that it has is coming from that not from the social side of things. Sorry, not from the impact comes from what it has as an impact on society is what I'm trying to say. What an impact the production of it has on society rather than the usual fast fashion side of things, where it's done with the cheapest labor, the cheapest costs, and it gets around that. And people buy into that story, and that's what helped us activate it from a social perspective. And that was kind of our main driver for our business. So when we talk about the more established third generation side of things, we're very much the first generation side of things, and very, very young, embryonic compared to these guys. But it was mainly focused around that new platform of digital.
But how was the reaction from retailers? And what is the reaction of retailers now? And how did you choose whether you want to go with retail versus like e-commerce or any other ways? So, and maybe, like, I would love to have your opinion, and maybe Tanya as well, if you could share.
If you look at retail, I mean, for us to go into retail is a very tough one because of the buy and where we are. To, like to say, go into a mall, you can't just go into a mall and suddenly be activated without a nice bag of money behind you, which is something that we don't have. So for us, it was very much trying to innovate around that. Again, using some of the pop-ups, using some of the culture that's been happening in Dubai, leveraging on that. We were fortunate to go into the Change Initiative. Unfortunately, that's just shut down. But they were fantastic ambassadors for us. And it was one place that enabled us to go and actually retail in the marketplace physically here, outside of doing the pop-up events that happen around the region. The reaction from retailers, I guess, isn't really there for us. I don't think that we're on the radar in that way. And we are looking now at how we can be activated in a retail way. We have been approached by certain retailers to go and take our product in with them. But it's something that, again, consciously we've kind of stepped away from it. And we don't want to go too commercial. If we go away from that, then it becomes, we kind of feel that we'll lose some of that brand, we'll lose some of that authenticity that comes with it, and we become too commercial from it. And it's something, again, that's been said is that to do with some of the food truck side of things is that the exclusivity is driving the demand. If it suddenly becomes mass and it's there all the time, then it loses that appeal, it loses that generation of interest. If it's there all the time. So again, that's what I'm hearing here is, and that's what we kind of leverage on, is that exclusivity is helping to drive the demand for us.
Tanya?
Can you just repeat the question again?
How did you, launching your new brand, how did you assess what channels you should go after? E-commerce, retail? Was it complementary? Did you choose to go to one direction versus the other, or no?
Look, coming from a retail background, I know what it entails to open up a store, to deal with malls, to deal with all of that stuff. And I just think there's so much pressure starting your own business, and then dealing with that, it's a whole other ballgame. So I really didn't want to do that. If you look at my maybe 5 or 10-year plan, yes, brick and mortar is in there. But for the moment right now, I just really wanted to go with the e-commerce and pop-up shop method. It's so much easier starting up a brand. You really get to see what your customers want, what they don't want, and who your actual customer is, you know? I think the mistake a lot of business people make is they go into the business saying that this is going to be my customer, this is going to be my business, this is going to be my model. And I would say 90% of the time, that's not the case. You learn so much every day. You see people that you would have never thought to be your customers buying things from you. And it's a great learning experience in the early phases, because when you do go into that commitment of, opening a store, when we take a store in any mall, it's a minimum of a 3-year commitment that we're giving them. You know where you want to be, you know who you want to be, and you know how you want to talk and, pass your message on to your consumers.
One of the things that we found exactly that is that for us, there's a certain angle to our product that is very much kind of sports focused because of the properties of it. But when we went to market with it, we actually found that it was more the eco-conscious side, the lifestyle side of it that is what actually people bought into. And whilst I had that preconception myself, we actually changed our direction because of that. And it enabled us to take that feedback from people and then actually change or just slightly tweak and adapt how we went to market that enabled us to be successful with it. So yeah, it is right. 100%.
Back to Zaina.
Hey.
You have like two different ventures, right? So one that is, I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit more. How I would really like to see like how difficult was it for you to start a venture that is so CSR focused? Tell us a bit more about what's driving you and why you want to do it.
Sure. So I'm going to link the conversation a little bit. So my first startup was a complete e-commerce online that commercializes handmade products made around the Middle East. And that is a very virtual business. So you spend most of your day going through trying to know your user. What time do they take their lunch break? Where do they go out after they're done from work? You compile all these data as statistics, but you never really meet your customer. Moving to a business that's actually very market-oriented. So what we do is selling bikes is a product that we have to go out in markets, interface with our clients, explain to them what we do, have them try the bikes. So it's a very personable business. It takes away the kind of e-commerce element, even though if you want to buy a bike, you buy it online. But our marketing efforts are a lot more on the ground. And that gives us basically an understanding that the online business doesn't give us, because we get to put a face to the person who's buying a bike. We get to create all these trends that you can't really create online. So online you have all these rigid analytical data of what your customer does, where he goes, what he buys, what other brands he looks at. But for example, for the bicycle business, you might be surprised to learn that our biggest target market are the females who are expecting children, who have just gotten married recently. And these are stats that we would never know unless we see them in markets with their new husband, new kid, and this is how we associate what our target market is. So it basically puts life into the target audience. It makes us understand it more so that we can reach it more. The CSR part of the bicycle business wasn't easy. CSR in general, in this part of the world, is difficult. It's not an easy concept, but what we do is we are not a completely NGO. We're actually a for-profit business, because we believe that if you're a sustainable business as a platform, then you're able to give back, and that's a personal choice that you want to make. So it was difficult setting up, but personally I do a lot of volunteer work in refugee camps. So the idea is, if you ask a child in any refugee camp around the Middle East, what do you want for Eid or what do you want for your birthday, the first thing they want is a bicycle. And so it becomes easier. The purpose of the business becomes easier because you understand what these communities need or would appreciate. And then connecting both is kind of a platform that you want to do. Working around the logistics is something where you design think the entire startup and say, okay, so how can I design the startup so that it delivers a sustenance to communities far away that need it, but also health and wellness to people here.
And is your business model, would you think about going to retail, for example, in your business model, or is just, because I think you chose completely the online as a business model.
Yeah.
How do you?
So definitely retail in this part of the world is a must for any online business, I believe. E-commerce, for us, Ananasa was a completely e-commerce platform with no retail on the ground element, and that in a way did affect the business and the reachability of it. But with bicycles, it's a product that people have to try, they have to see, they have to create this association with. So you definitely need to retail it in shops because people still in this part of the world are going to places. They're wanting to see the brands, they go walk in the malls, so you definitely want to be there where the traffic is. And then you can target them online. But as an online platform, I think it's difficult to have a physical product that people have to try for them to actually make the sale.
Makes sense. Before I open up to the audience, could every one of you tell us about like one direction as of now that is redefining retail? Okay, either one challenge or one thing that you've seen in the past couple of years that is redefining how retailers are interacting. So maybe whoever wants to start.
I'll share from my perspective of all the pop-ups and everything that we're doing. I think we're seeing more and more the interest of the market, and that's why you see big developers spending money on that, on the type of, like different type of experiences, like the outdoors, the organic, the homegrown entrepreneur. I think the market definitely wants more of that. This is why we are successful and we're growing nicely. I think Dubai as a whole, the industry, should also allow for more flexibility in that space. I think designer Sheikh Mohammed is very clear on encouraging young entrepreneurs. He's been doing really well when we're talking about tech. I think in the retail space, there's still a lot of barriers to young entrepreneurs, people who have a lot of passion, not a lot of resources, having maybe a regulation that allow them to fail sometimes and to test new concepts. I think the new law coming on now, soon will be implemented, the bankruptcy law, will help that a lot. That was a big challenge for many of the young entrepreneurs who didn't want to take the risk. And I think this is what we've been trying to do, create platforms where those young entrepreneurs in the in food, in urban, the market, the music, the street art are able to grow. And this is where I want to keep pushing the industry.
I think we're in a city that really pushes the boundaries as well. If you succeed in Dubai, you can succeed anywhere in the world. We're put at an international level. We're competing with the big guys. We're competing with international brands. So I think being in Dubai, we're very lucky. And to really compete with the big guys, we need to create the demand, as most of them spoke about, create the demand before launching your product. You need to be passionate about it. You don't need to, so you can start online and then go to retail. You can start as a food truck and then maybe think of going into a restaurant. So this is how people need to start. They need to start small so that they get the community involved. And then that would shape their business. But I believe that young entrepreneurs can reshape the developments in Dubai. I can give one example of Miras and the E11. If we went back 2 years back when we did not have any approvals for food trucks, Miras would never think of having the last exit. So as Salt, seeing other food trucks in the I'm really happy because when we were doing the kitchen layouts or when we were looking at an Airstream, we ordered an Airstream without ever seeing one. So I think Dubai is changing, and they're listening to consumers and they're listening to what entrepreneurs are doing. Yeah.
Absolutely, and to continue the trend of being grateful we're in Dubai as well, and all the opportunities this city gives us. There's two things, I think, really, that are driving innovation beyond just technology as well, which is, as everyone's been saying, it is that shift towards purpose, authenticity, niche, and evolving. And to me, that starts with, if you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm getting a little technical here, but we start at the bottom. Food, shelter, water, those needs are being met. We've moved into a world of more abundance, especially the city. And as we start to move up that pyramid, I think the needs, or the wants that were once considered unattainable or higher level, are becoming our needs. Whereas once Salt, someone would have said, I love the place, don't get me wrong, but they're saying, you're gonna go here and pay this much for a burger, just go to the mall and pick up McDonald's and come. But now, because people have the time, they have the ability, and they've seen so much more. We are really spoiled as an Instagram generation. I'm not on Instagram, disclaimer, but because we've seen the rest of the world, our demands and our expectations for what is possible are higher, because we've said, hey, that person is doing that. You've seen that concept and made it better and brought it here. Now, if that can be built, that's the first thing, that we are so used to seeing almost everything. Now we have a platform upon which to say, okay, how do we become better? Same way, of course, Dubai is seeing the world and is 10 steps ahead, alhamdulillah. The second part is systems and execution, which to me is my watchword in my company, is that, for example, anyone here's organization, luckily, I believe is great. Is it consistently great all the time, every time, and continually building in processes to get better? For example, one thing I've encouraged in our company is fixed reflection periods with fixed questions. So for example, every quarter, not just every year or once in a while or whenever management feels like it, I want everyone to ask themselves how we can get better, what they can do, what the people around them can do, what the company as a whole can do. Because those kinds of systems that lead to quality and consistency lead to step-by-step continual growth that hopefully is sustainable, is the core part of it, that we can keep delivering the best even when the best is still yet to come.
I think just kind of carrying on that conversation from the guys, that whilst Dubai has these fantastic and amazing opportunities, from that retail side of things, I think what is to come and what would be great is just other enablers for people to be able to kind of take from one step to the next without having to take huge leaps that are beyond perhaps the reach of, there are some fantastic startups out there, but will they ever get beyond where they are as a kind of a small base? Then it's hard. So you can see it coming, but it just needs more.
I think that now is a very opportune time for us to be in Dubai and to have our businesses going on right now, because Dubai is literally offering us this opportunity in retail where we come into the market and we can literally create and recreate ourselves on a daily basis based on the customer reception of our brands. So for me personally, I started up my coffee shop with a dream that I just want to sell coffee. But a few months into that, I realized that that's not going to be enough. People want more. So we changed our business model. We changed our offering. We changed our USP, keeping at the core what we had in mind initially, but we also evolved. And that's the beauty of being here. People are very interactive with you. They're going to come and tell you, you know what, what you're doing is great, but maybe you should try this as well. And from a business perspective, being open-minded enough to take these risks and to try and to evolve your brand on a daily basis with so much competition literally sprouting on every corner is something that is major. In terms of spaces themselves, like for us specifically, we never really wanted to be in a mall. We always wanted to be out interacting with the customers, because from an early stage we realized how important for our brand this customer interaction is. So we did the markets, we did the pop-ups, and that really took our business to a different level. And I think that right now with initiatives like the truckers, like street nights, it's really allowing small businesses like us to grow our businesses without having to go to the big malls and pay the big, basically the big checks, because a lot of us did not come with the big money bags to start up the business. So it is allowing us this platform to grow and to respond to the market needs without having to be backed up by a bank, which is a fantastic opportunity for all of us.
True. So I believe retail as an industry, it gives us a huge opportunity to keep doing new mistakes every day. The rules that we learned 5 years ago suddenly become out of the date, and you keep setting the rules. You see the big boys following you. So that's what retail offers us. And in terms of Middle East, I believe this region has the boundless potential. And I want to see people coming out of this place and to be known as someone who is innovating in the world map. Yeah, that's what it is.
I think where the future of retail is concerned, we're quite fortunate that we have access to all of the digital information and the social information that we have, because as businesses, we're physically able to get into our consumers' minds. You know, we know what they're following, we know what they want, we know what they're looking for, and we know who they kind of aspire to be or what they want to be. As a business, though, I think now it's time for us to start taking these experiences to our customers, and that's what's going to be the future of retail, where reverse integration kind of happens. We know what our product is, but we bring it to the customers rather than constantly bringing them to us. So obviously, yes, pop-ups, all of these food trucks, e-commerce, that helps, but something more innovative will definitely come up and disrupt the market with a new trend.
Do you know what it is? What do you think?
If I knew, would I be sitting here?
Sorry.
I think in Dubai, the future of retail is collaboration. Collaboration, what I mean is, I can't afford a retail, so I have a central kitchen. I do all my business out of a central kitchen. I think many other startups will go to a central kitchen saying, hey, can you cook my food? And I'm going to go and sell it somewhere. I think we'll stop hiring drivers for delivery, and we'll go to people like Any Orders or Magneto and say, you guys take away. I don't want to manage 5 drivers arguing with each other. You guys take the headache and you guys deliver the food. We'll happily pay you. So there's a lot of collaboration is going to happen, and even between local independents, I think, not only truckers and Ripe and things like that. Like myself and Freedom Pizza, I give them our keema, and they have a Pakistani pizza on their menu. Stuff like that I think should be encouraged, should be, this is a way to survive in a very, very high cost retail environment here. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, so I personally think that the way to redefine retail is to go back to why we retail in the first place. And honestly, I think everybody in the room has a shared goal, and that is to be happy. We buy things because they make us happy. We go on trips because we want to be happy. But I personally think that happiness is a byproduct of being useful. And if we can create products and services that make people feel useful, that give them a purpose, then we're giving them long happiness. Longer, it's not temporary. It's not you buy this, you eat this, and then you're happy for a few hours, and then you have to do something else. So the idea is, how can we produce products and services that give people usefulness, that give them a purpose? How can we create and redefine this industry so that the person buying from you is longing the process of their happiness, and that they're actually having a purpose that they can pass on? And I think that is basically how we can look at products and services that redefine the industry of retailing.
Love it. Guys, any questions from the floor? I want to open it.
Idris, if you don't mind, before we even go there, I want to share a little story and actually frustration, a remark, and then I have a question for the audience. Yeah, because typically nobody raises their hand and it becomes very, thank you for coming, all that. So I want to share my frustration. Do you know in Europe, in Canada, where I'm from, you know where innovation and culture comes from? It doesn't come from malls. It comes from places that have been abandoned and repurposed and gifted by the city or by philanthropic people, big families. It comes from new ways of using old spaces and rejuvenating forgotten places. So, my frustration is sometimes, because we are in a city that it's very commercially driven as well, where entrepreneurs from around the world welcome, sometimes what I deplore, and maybe you guys tell me if I'm the only one thinking like that, is the short-term profit perspective. When we did this street nights thing, I spent my own money from my family for 2 years without even thinking of, can this make profit? And I was going to be okay without making profit. Same thing for truckers. And I would love to see more of the civil stakeholders, the authorities, looking at ways that maybe we don't need to make a profit right away on this thing, right? But let's give a chance, let's give a platform for young entrepreneurs to explore and take risks. When we go and see cool places in the city, and we could do something amazing to create life in those forgotten places, to bring people to see other angles of the city, we're always stuck at one point because someone will come in and say, okay, fine, you can use it, but you need to pay me 1 million dirhams today. Well, that will block a lot of us. And that basically, they prefer to leave their places empty rather than to see the life. So, if there are any landlords here, I would encourage them to tell us why we can't collaborate in the beginning to create life, and then it's a win-win. Because when we've put this new place on the map, where we created a destination, a new kind of destination experience, then it's also good for them because we create value that they keep in the long run. So I want to have an open dialogue here on this, because this is really a frustration and a challenge that I feel as destination, as event creator, I'm always facing.
Who's up for that? Can we get her a mic, please, in the front?
Hello. I'm not a landlord. I just agree with what you just said, but I think it's time for us to create our own destinations. And by all means, I think you guys did Algoz, you did, you were involved in a Circle Night, correct? I think these areas are supposed to be pumping up with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of creatives, because we define where other people go. I think the definition is not the opposite. It's where we go, the demand that we create, and as Amal said, Exit 11, the one that is on Sheikh Zayed Road, the new destination that Miras just developed, gives you this impression that developers will open up if there is a demand from customers. When customers start to think and developers start to think like customers, they're forced to go where we are going. So I totally agree, and I think we should not look at malls and what malls are doing and their prices. Eventually, if we all collaborate together and move forward into different destinations, malls will start thinking, oh, where are the cool people all going? Where are the cool brands going? They're going to a totally different direction. We should follow that direction and really grab these people in.
I agree with you, but at the same time, they also keep, let's say Miras, what they've done, the way they executed is flawless, is beautiful, but it doesn't create a platform for young entrepreneurs to go there. Have you seen the rents? So that's one thing. In the example I was taking,
from 300 to 600,000. I don't think the rents are very high. I think we should be realistic. They're offering you different things, but the rents are realistic. And if you can't afford 300 to 600,000, then I don't think you should be in the market, because there is something wrong in the product itself.
So my example that I was starting from is that you will have all those old train stations, for example, that instead of being let to rot in the middle of Paris, in an old neighborhood of Paris, they're just given for free. And actually the government will invest and give it for free for many, many young entrepreneurs. And so the short-term profit thing, I think it is a challenge of us really building the culture moving forward. But Miras has been doing amazingly well, and they can, of course, bring the Starbucks and the big companies there. But I don't think the small entrepreneurs...
I think what Alex is saying is that what happens before, because I think what Miras did is after a little bit, he could see that there was a market, right? And again, right, he could see that there was a market. He could see that it was becoming a destination, right? So what happened at the first spark, right? Like how to find a place, like whether it's physical or online or whatever, so that entrepreneurs can express themselves without having like all this
I think with Miras offering, jumping from a place that is 4,000, 5,000 per square foot in their own destinations that are not doing well, by the way, the city walks and all the other projects. I hope no one from Miras is here. Okay, but I think if you're jumping from that price to a 300,000, then we did something in the market. You guys are doing something right, because the pressure is there and the pressure is on them. So they either go down to us because we're not going back to them.
Good.
They did reduce. Sorry, just spinning off what you said, I completely agree with you that you will create a location for people to come to you. But for small homegrown businesses, the 300 to 600,000 or plus rent for a place to park your truck, like the last exit, is not necessarily something doable for these homegrown businesses. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you should not be in the market if you cannot foot the 600,000 dirhams to just park your truck at the last exit. I think that what Alex was talking about is offering a platform that is more affordable for creative ideas and offerings that are, a bit different than what's going on in the market right now.
Let's do it and compete with them. Let's do another destination and compete with them.
I would love to. I'd be the first one.
Okay, let's do it.
I would be the first one sitting down talking about this.
Stay tuned. I've been working on this project for
Let's
3
do
years.
it. Let's do it.
Really, because a lot of us have amazing ideas, but we don't have the capital to push it forward. So unfortunately, I actually was in discussion with Miras about parking my trailer in the last exit. But considering that I'm growing my business right now, I have 3 outlets coming up this year. It was a bit more than 600,000 that they asked me for. I couldn't afford it, very honestly. But then you find in something so different like the last exit, unfortunately, you find an international chain there rather than a unique homegrown UAE concept, which is...
It's very sad.
Yeah,
it's
which
very
is
sad.
kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But I think we should do something about it. I don't think we should just
100%.
complain.
Let's make one.
Let's
Let's make one.
Let's have a coffee. Let's pencil in a coffee for the two of you
Amal,
offline.
okay?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
In the interest of giving other people a turn, let's pass the mic around. Simple rules of the game. Raise your hand if you have a question, and do tell us who you've addressed it to.
Just a thought in the meanwhile.
Could we get a mic to the gentleman here?
One day we have historic rejuvenated Mall of the Emirates.
Well, I'm working on something. Cool, so stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Mazin Gandil, leasing director of Hamad Property Management Company. We are managing 22 projects in Kingdom on behalf of 7 owners. And back to the short-term financial goals, I can tell you honestly, it will take long time till to convince owners about looking for less IRR or less return of investment. And to be honest, at the end of the day, we are all here to make money. So saying let's create a destination and look at and improving the lifestyle, okay, this is really the objective, but at the end of the day, numbers talks. We are waking up, we are creating company to make money. So yes, we are trying to fill the gap between the owner expectation and retailers' demand. But at the end of the day, numbers is the bottom at the end of the day. So this is my point.
So did you have a question, or are you
No,
commiserating with the rental
I'm just
pain?
replying. I mean, let's be realistic. What you are saying is very ideal, and it will never happen.
Well, let me respond to that as well. I think we're all in. Nobody here is a non-for-profit, right? But there's a difference in the timeline. What we're doing, it takes time to build. It's like we're planting the seed. It needs a year, 2 years, 3 years to create life. That you can then pick up the fruit from the tree. If we try right away to collect the fruit from the soil, there's nothing. And so what I don't understand is that why can't we, in many places, even here in Dubai, there are great locations, and I've been approached by many great developers here, and they want us to come right away and to create life, but it takes time. And they're not willing to give us the opportunity to do it and invest in the content. They want to capture the profit right away. I'm like, hold on a second, let us water that plant a little bit, and when it's sustainable, then we can all benefit from it. And I think what defines this crowd here and the followers of this crowd is the passion. If you don't allow these people to share that passion, even if it means like lowering the prices or coming up with a different business model, then you won't have this crowd, and it will become another beautiful mall with the same brands that you see everywhere in the world.
Go back to the example you gave.
Sorry?
Go back to the example you gave, like a train station that's run down. What is that? It's deprived. It's a deprived area that needs reinvestment where they can repurpose it. Now, you're looking at areas, you're talking Canada, I'm talking UK, Europe. They have those areas of depression, those areas, I'm from a working class town where those sort of things happen, and that's where you create the innovation. It's out of depression, it's out of desperation. People need to live, they need to make the money, and this is where that innovation tends to happen. And it's an incubator for art. What do we have here? We don't have any depression here. We don't have a developed market that's been there for hundreds of years. You have what is an embryonic city. We've been here, 50 years? The UAE's been here? It doesn't have that. It has areas that have not been created yet. It doesn't have areas that have been around and have a depression that needs life putting into them. You're creating it from new, and it's a difference. And that's why you have big business here, and like you said, they want to make money from the drop.
So but there are a lot of these new places that do need the activation.
But they're not in deprived areas. They don't need it.
It's not about deprivation.
They don't need it.
I don't think being in Dubai is anything about deprivation.
You don't have those areas like that.
But so obviously Dubai doesn't have those 100-year-old train stations, but it has so many amazing places. I spend most of my time going to places where you don't even have access with a car. And if I was only given the opportunity to talk to the person who has this mindset that, okay, let's bring life in this place, we would do something amazing. Around the world, we would not talk about Burj Khalifa and Dubai Mall anymore. We would talk about these places that makes really Dubai so different.
And I would like to maybe to come back to that comment. Like,
there's someone at the back with a question. If we can get a mic to him as well. Yeah.
Hi, it's Adrian from Retailistic. I'm a fellow retailer. It's just with all due respect to our gentleman from Saudi Arabia, who's obviously speaking from a landlord's perspective. We've literally invested the last hour of our time talking about how retailers are looking at doing things differently. And there's been a number of examples demonstrating how so many people have done so. I think if we reflect on where the market is right now, it's been challenging times. 2016 hasn't been an easy year for most people. And a lot of people have said how difficult it is to invest into new projects. They don't have the cash flow they had a couple of years ago. And it is a bit challenging taking that big leap. So I think it's going to be one of those questions of, can landlords start thinking about things differently? You know, retailers don't have the access to the property, landlords do. How can we enter into those properties or into those opportunities in a means where we can actually break ground? We don't have to make a return in year one, but neither does the landlord. That's my question to the landlords.
That's true. I'm not sure how many of you were part of the conversation yesterday where some of the largest retailers were present and they made the exact same points that you're making just in terms of scale. Revenue to rentals are very high for them as well. The franchisee model is flawed. It's not working and margins are under pressure. But let me just try to put a more positive spin to this conversation and let me ask all of you, including the moderator, because you haven't had a chance to speak, about what you would list out as the 1 or 2 DIYs or most important tips for someone who's looking to dive into the entrepreneurship ocean and actually take that big leap, rentals aside?
As an entrepreneur, for me, the biggest challenge, I think, and this is probably the first thing I'm looking at when I'm trying to advise startups, is relentlessness, right? Startup is all about having 100 people telling you it's not possible and still going on and recruiting and raising money and all of this. You'll find there is hundreds of reasons not to start a business, and there is only one to actually do it, right? So having, whether it's investors, clients saying that you cannot disrupt, right? It's always like don't listen to the people who said it cannot do it while the other guys are doing it, right? It's really what it is. So I think for me, that's the ability of an entrepreneur to actually get up every morning and keep on fighting against everyone, because this is what startup is, I think, is the biggest challenge.
Sure. And for you?
I think, honestly, it's a bunch of factors, but to tie in also the question, I think new entrepreneurs that want to go into the retail business, and that's been touched on, collaboration. We don't do enough of it. We keep complaining that we don't have communities, that we bring communities together, but the actual power in community is the collaboration. It's what comes out of sharing. And if we can share spaces, if we can share retail spaces, if we can share rentals, if we can share profits even by driving in traffic, I think a new entrepreneur can flourish a lot more than having to start it from scratch by himself or herself. So collaboration, I think.
So the question is what advice we would give or something like that?
Exactly, for someone who's trying to make that giant leap into becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, stay in 9 to 5, believe me. It's so hard. No, there's no, from my experience the last 3 or 4 years, I can't say there's some magic bullet or a secret formula. Different things work for different businesses, but I guess we all share the same principles. But I think I resonate somewhat with what Idris said, that we started a business because something, the prison of that desk or the corporate job, it couldn't hold us anymore, and we broke out. Whatever that is inside of us, driving us, pushing us, that relentlessness, that determination, that's the thing that makes you keep going at the end. You can't really describe or you can't really explain that to someone. It's just, it happens. It just happens like that, you know?
Je ne sais quoi, that's certain something, right? You're in a catch-22 where you have the safety net of a family business, but also old age values to stand up against. What would you say is the one thing that you hold on to?
I think that as long as you know your vision, you know what your goals are, you can really just do it. The most important thing that I've learned is that you just need to learn from the past, be it a mistake or not. you kind of take control of the resources you have and maximize that and see what can be done with that.
So two things here. One, there's a saying that it always seems impossible till it's done. So if I take my example, we launched the range of organic personal care products, and even the stalwarts of the industry discouraged us, saying that the consumers were not ready for this. But within 3 months of the launch, we realized that we had something as pure as gold in our hands. We got such a huge and outstanding response from the consumers. We got both repeat as well as referral customers. So that's one. And the second is that never confuse your single defeat with the final one. Even we have had our share of failures, but failure should never bother you. The sun will rise again tomorrow, whatever the outcome is. Thank you.
I think the toughest part about starting a business is actually just taking that leap of faith, just jumping in. So when you find yourself in that situation where you've actually started, you got yourself into this, you miraculously find a way to keep going and to keep rediscovering and remembering the reasons why you got into this to start with. And I think that's something very important for us as young entrepreneurs, because quite often we get caught up in the numbers, we get caught up in the client's demands, we get caught up in our event schedule, and we find ourselves going back to the desks that Tahir mentioned that we tried to escape from to start with, and just taking one step back and trying to remember exactly why we started doing this, trying to remember exactly where that passion came from is something very important to keep us all going. And another thing, the guys have already mentioned this, but I think the collaboration aspect is something very important. I think quite often in this market, we look at other players in the market as competitors, rather than also potentially viewing them as collaborators, as partners. A lot of us homegrown businesses, we do get together every once in a while. We sit down, we complain about the rents, we complain about the customers, the events, the organizers, and all of that. And we've actually found a lot of ways to help each other. And I think this is something that needs to happen even on a larger scale in this market, because with so much going on all the time and with so many new businesses coming up all the time, it's really a shame to pass on, to just not make use of this whole pool of knowledge that's out there. Instead of competition, collaboration.
And nothing like a good bitch and moan, right?
Definitely.
For you.
Very much the same, and I can only speak from experience, but it's just to know your why, know your driver, no matter how bad or the trouble, and then eventually the good, hopefully. If you know that, it'll see you through. That's it.
So there are two things I'd say. The first is, in addition to everything that's been said so far, is just hustle. I think everyone here has had 8-day weeks, if you know what I mean, and we've pushed through them. And the second concrete thing I would say, taken with all the grains of salt that you would take from a 24-year-old entrepreneur, is there's a book called The E-Myth Revisited, which I'm not sure how many people here have read, but it quite literally saved my life, if not all the gray hairs. A year ago, we had set up a sportswear franchise here. I just graduated college and I'd opened 2 shops almost back to back, a few months apart, which we've now thankfully sold to the apparel group, so thank you for that. But it taught me the importance of your business is your life, but your life is not your business. And to create a way to define what you want, what I wanted for it, and to create the systems, once again, to make that happen so that my business wasn't running me, and more that I could step back and actually say, where are we going? And act as an entrepreneur and not just get stuck in that. So that would be the concrete advice is E-Myth Revisited.
The book that saved my life is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. And he said that whenever he creates a concept, it's the whole process of giving birth. So you hate the whole process, but then when you create your concept, that's when everything makes sense to you. So entrepreneurs should think of that process. You might hate it, And every time we create a concept, I literally hate the process because we're not sure whether it's going to work or not. But it's okay because you're giving birth to a new concept, and if you're really passionate about it, if you've put your all in it, then it's going to work. So, yeah.
Your pain is real. It's touched a lot of chords today, but you're still doing it.
I would answer that question about, with quoting a famous German psychiatrist. He said, the one with a strong enough why can go through any how. So the why, in this case, is the passion. Everyone here is so passionate. I know most of them here, and I think you can tell that I'm also passionate about what I do. So it's not the bottom line. You should never start looking at a business, and none of us did, I think, by saying how much profit I will make by this quarter. But if you are passionate, then the hours won't count. The pain won't count. All this will be worth it. And then if you're passionate, you will become good at it. If you're good at it, eventually you will also make money of it. So this is the biggest advice I would give to anyone looking to jump in the entrepreneurial world.
Super. I think we still have some questions. There were some raised hands. If we can get a mic to the lady here.
Hello. I'm going to be a little bit tough on you guys. I hope you forgive me. I thought I'm going to come and be swept off my feet with this session specifically, saying that it's young Turks redefining retail, where none of you is redefining anything. You're all taking on nostalgic ideas and a nostalgic take on old ideas, whether the food trucks, which is an ancient concept that's been seen all over Europe and America ages and centuries ago. The organic, which is basically even more than centuries ago, people plant their food and eat it. I think maybe the only concept that's also related to CSR is the most innovative. I would also say maybe the organic clothes, but that's also technology. The retail, the e-commerce is just actually utilizing an innovative platform. It's not really actually inventing something or innovating something or doing something much different. Same thing with street nights. You know, we've been there all over, even Latin America, India. People have done that for a long time, but we are taking it, bringing it to a country which didn't allow it, and we're just saying, oh yeah, we invented something, we innovated. We didn't. Now, my question is, I have an idea. I don't. But let's say I'm a young entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur. Tell me, don't talk like the big jargon. Don't talk to me with the big retailers' terminology. Tell me straightforward, how do I do it? How do I actually, step by step, go and make my idea, my simple idea, my small business idea, a reality? Don't tell me about quotes. I don't want to hear quotes. I've seen them, I've read them. I know I'm passionate about my idea. I know I want to do it. I know I will put the hours, and I know I will put the days. But I want to know how. Do I sit with my friends and storm? Do I go to a, I mean, one of the, Amal, thank you so much for telling us that something that actually is useful, that it will take time to get the permit. So tell us, how do we get the permit? Tell us real, actual steps that will help us. Don't give us ideal ideas and things that, oh, we worked hard and we did. We know you did, and we know we want to do, but we are here to learn from you, not to just listen to what happened to you. We want to learn in order to become like you.
Sorry, what's your name?
My name is it doesn't matter. I can say any name. I can tell you my name is Alex.
Hi, Miss Alice.
Hi.
So, I mean, I don't know, don't be mistaken by the hyperbole in the advertisement saying, we are the young Turks redefining retail, we are the innovators.
Maybe it's wrong.
It's
maybe
hyperbole.
it's the title that's wrong.
But we are all young guys, young people, blood, sweat, and tears. I'll bring you a whole bag of muck.
Then teach me how you did it. Tell me
we would
step
love
by
to.
step.
We would love
Was it that you actually sat down with your friends and guys, you know what, I want to do something with Pakistani food. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me with jargon. Don't talk to me about what was it, the words that you guys used? Talk to me in simple terms. I'm a simple person. I'm not a retailer, but I want to go into that market
We can
with
do that
simplicity.
afterwards, but we're just here to relay our experiences from the questions
What
that
we can
we've
do
been
is
asked.
wind down this
Why?
conversation and they can talk to you in simpler terms.
I know, but
once they're done.
why are you?
Can I actually cover that? Sorry.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to touch a little
Actually,
bit.
I just want to, before I need to interrupt you. You're the only one I understood, and you're the only one who said something that actually valuable, which is love and happiness. If you want to do something, create something that will make people happy and love it. That was top notch. That was
Thank
something
you.
I understand.
I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying before. I think everybody on this panel has you want to know how tough entrepreneurship is?
Yes, I do.
It's disgusting. That's the truth.
Fantastic. Tell me that.
Yeah,
Tell
that
me
is
that
the
and
truth.
how
But
to
I won't tell
overcome
you
it.
that.
Don't
I
tell
won't
me,
tell
oh, you have to put up 24 hours every day. I know that.
I have to finish my thought process so that you can get the message. Entrepreneurship is not easy. Okay, entrepreneurship is not easy. It's a tough job. You don't sleep, you barely eat. Sometimes it's more important for you to pay salaries than it's for you to actually have any sort of life. But if you love something, you can make it happen. And I think that's what the message that we want to rely on. If you have something specific you want to learn about, I think any of us are accessible. We're more than open to give you advice on what you want to learn. Nobody here is going to sit down and tell you how to get a permit because the audience is general and some people don't care, to be frank. But the idea is we're all accessible. You want something specific, you're more than welcome to get it. In terms of innovation, I want to go back to my first startup, Ananasa.com. It was a very futuristic idea to bring 22 Arab countries together to create virtual stores for people who make handmade products to ship like we were in the US. It's not an easy thing. The truth is, it was a very innovative idea. The market wasn't ready for it. So the first thing I would advise you as an entrepreneur who has a very innovative idea is do your market research. Don't think that your brilliant idea is going to get you on top of the world. What's going to get you on top of the world is knowing your market. If it's not ready for it, go home and wait till it is. So that's my advice to you.
Thank you.
I think
Market
that's a good
research,
spot
that's
to
number
actually
one.
halt the conversation. Give them a round of applause because I think they've been very sporting with questions.
hold
for
on.
all
This is
specific
getting to the good
questions,
part.
you can take it
This is
offline.
the good part.
Right.
Exactly.
Sorry?
Do we have to finish now?
Is there something else you'd like to say?
Oh,
Yeah, we're not done.
Wait a second. Oh, come on. We've been put on the spot here right here. We'd like to be able
You'd
to
like
respond.
to? Okay, what I wouldn't like though is a slanging match. So you're welcome to have your conversation with the lady here, perhaps off stage.
The rest of the audience doesn't want to participate?
I don't see anyone else wanting to participate. Maybe they would like to just stop for a second, if that's okay. You know what? We're going to halt just for 2 minutes for a coffee break. You're welcome to mingle with the audience right here, and then we'll get started again. If you have specific questions, like I said, you can take them over here. A round of applause, please. I think things got a bit heated, but we didn't applaud the people for what they said.
Jump the mic,